Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host, Tim Matthews. Tim, today I want to talk about a subject that we alluded to on a previous podcast, and something that comes up often in conversations with men is, how do you know when it's time to leave your relationship? Now, this question comes off the back of most men who are just fed up. They're fed up with their wife bickering. They're fed up with their wife not having as much sex with them. They're fed up with what they determine as the inequalities in their relationship. They're fed up with the way they feel that they're being treated. All of these scenarios come up, right? Now, I've been there. I'm sure you've been there in a lot of ways, although I think your partner, Amelia, listens to this podcast. So Amelia, definitely Tim is never looking to leave. But I've certainly been there. Is how do you know when it's time to leave your relationship?
Wow, yeah. Good question. I mean, in my opinion, in short, I mean, I guess you're always going to have doubt, right? From a logical standpoint, the way I would take this is if you have set agreements in place. So let's say you set a vision for the relationship, let's say what's important for you. And if that person doesn't want to get on board with that, then straight away that's a red flag, right? But assuming that they are on board with it, you then set clear agreements in place of, again, what's important for you to happen. And if those things are not happening and the person isn't wanting to talk about it and isn't even open to meeting those things, you have a choice, don't you? You know, it's kind of like, how much do you want to tolerate? I think a major strength for the men in business is their ability to persevere. I think a weakness in relationships can become an ability to persevere because they can often lose themselves. And often they don't ever really, sometimes the guys don't even know what they want and what's important for them. So then they don't communicate that in the relationship. So then they never really set the partner up for success. The partner never knows what's important to them. And just this ambiguity creates a lot of frustration and stress, right? And then over time, you know, mud gets flicked on the glass, as we've spoken about before, and the resentment builds. And I think at that point, some people leave out of frustration, right? I think it could be a lot easier. In an ideal world, right? This is what people tend to do as well when they get into relationships. People that are older, you know, typically people that have been through a divorce or maybe two, and they get into a relationship older, they tend to be a lot better at just saying, "Hey, this is what's important for me in a relationship." And they often have this conversation early on, right? So they don't waste time. It's like, "Hey, this is what's important for me in a relationship. These are my needs, let's say. What are yours? Are we on the same page? Can we make this work?" And I think that is a conversation that has to happen before you know whether or not or when to leave, right? And if you've had that, like I said a moment ago, and there's just no budging there, your choice is, do I sacrifice and tolerate, knowing that I'm not going to have my needs met, or do I leave? I think it becomes a personal choice, right? It's a reflection of your self-worth as well, and how your self-esteem. I think a guy with low self-esteem is more likely to hold on. It's more likely to just settle. A guy with a higher self-worth and a higher self-esteem is more likely to stand by and say, "Hey, you know what? No, these things are important for me. And if I'm not going to get them from you, then cool. How do we go about this? How can we make this work? If you don't want to meet those needs, and cool, I respect that. How else can we do this? If we're going to stay in a relationship to parent, for example, well, how else can I have these needs met?" So the point I'm making there, he continues to hold firm on these things being important to him, and how he goes about getting them is, you know, an open conversation at that point.
Good points. You know, when I think about this question, how do you know when it's time to leave your relationship? I'm immediately taken back to a point in my marriage where I left for a month. I don't know if you and I have ever talked about this in detail, I went down. I got a beach house in Solana Beach, California. So it's San Diego area, northern San Diego. For those that aren't familiar, it's a beautiful town. And I was walking on the sand on the beach, right below the place I was staying. Absolutely beautiful. I could feel the sand beneath your feet. And I started to go for a run. And I was thinking about my marriage. As I'm going for a run, I can hear the waves crashing next to me. There's not a lot of people out there, and I'm going for a run. And I stop, and I'm thinking to myself, as I started that run, all the problems of my wife, all the things that she needed to fix, and all the reasons I deserved better. And as I was running, I didn't run as hard as I normally did or as far of the image of my head. And I realized I wasn't as in good a shape as I used to be. I played competitive soccer and well into my mid 30s. And here I am doing that. And I realized, okay, what would my wife say? Right now, we have this idea we teach about the powerful man as well is clean up your side of the street. So here I got this, the sand's beneath my feet. I'm in a great mood. And I start looking at my house, so to speak. You look at your side. That the analogy is your house is on one side of the street, right? You walk out your front door and all you see is your neighbor, and you complain about the weeds in your neighbor's garden, or the paint is chipping a little bit. They're not taking care of their house as well. But what you don't do is walk out to the sidewalk, turn around, and look at your house. So the idea here is clean up your side of the street first. And as I'm walking, I pause for a second and I think, have I been the best husband I could be? Yes, no. Wait for a little bit. Answer comes back, no, you haven't. Like, oh, shit. Okay. All right. Ask another question. Am I the best version of myself right now? Wait a little bit. Still walking in the sand. Answer comes back, no. Shit. Again. Okay. Here I am complaining, getting ready to leave my marriage, getting ready to exit. Full plan, like most guys have, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to call Jenny and Susie, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to move money this way, move money here. These are the ways I'm going to get out of it. The full plan's there. The strategy's in place. And as I'm thinking, I'm walking now. As I'm thinking about this, I make a decision. It's a decision that's changed my life, and a decision I go back to often when I make big decisions. So why don't I just be the best version of myself? I will be the best husband without fail for 30 days straight. If I falter, I start arguing or whatever it is, if I'm a dick, whatever it is, then I restart from day one. But I got to do 30 consecutive days of being the best man I know I can be. And then at that point, if my marriage isn't working, I know it's time to leave because it's not me. It's beyond my control. It's not me. It's the relationship or her, one of the two, and has nothing to do with me. I did that 30 days, or I attempted that 30 days. And I didn't make it through, by the way, guys. I didn't make it through 30 days of being the best husband I knew I could be. That was telling. But something magical happened during that time, Tim. My wife completely changed. As I sat there and focused on being the best version of me, because I also knew, this is the subcontext, I also knew if I was going to be the best version of myself and I was going to exit that marriage, I was going to meet an amazing woman, right? Because I'm the best version of Doug. I'm the best me. My stock has risen, and I'm going to meet a better woman coming out of this marriage. So either way, it's a win-win situation for me. I'm the best version of me, which is a win for me. I'm the best version of me, which could be a win for my marriage. I'm the best version of me. If it's not a win for my marriage, then it's going to be a win in this relationship. I also knew that if I was a best version of myself, I could sleep well at night, exiting the marriage, not having any doubts. I did everything I could. I pulled out all the stops, just like when we first started dating. I pull out all the stops and being an amazing man. And yes, to your point, honor your boundaries. Yes, communicate clearly. That's part of being an amazing husband and being in a great relationship. 30 days, consecutive days. So if you mess up, you start over from day one. Be the best man you can be, the best husband you could possibly be. Now you need to know what that is. And I sat down, I went up, to the beach house, sat on the balcony, right? I was overlooking the cliffs, and you could see people out in the ocean, the ships, and it was just absolutely magical. And I'm writing out what does a best husband do? What is an amazing husband? What does that look like? And I wrote in my journal, right? At the time, I had that one of those spiral notebooks that I took all kinds of notes for business and other things in. And I made a list. I said, okay, I can be that guy. Like that guy is me when I'm at my best. And so I became that guy. I felt better about myself because I was being the best version of myself. It's kind of like when you don't work out, but then all of a sudden you start working out regularly, you just feel friggin' good because you know it's a better version of you. It's nothing artificial. It's just a better version of you. I became that man. And again, like I said, something magical happened is not only did I feel better about myself, but my wife changed. The nagging stopped. All those things I didn't like stopped. And I realized it was my leadership. The way I was showing up was affecting the way she was showing up. I didn't ask her to change. I didn't tell her to change. I didn't say, hey, if you don't do this and I'm out the door, I'm leaving you. I mean, I did that previously. One of the reasons I took off for a month. But I was reacting. I was in deer mode. But when I stepped into what we call wolf, right? Part of that's wisdom. I used that wisdom portion and it hit me like a ton of bricks. And since then, I've had an amazing marriage, 2 beautiful kids. I have a life partner, my wife. I hate that word, but it's what it is. Somebody that's growing with me and we're growing together. And I knew if I would have exited that marriage, I would have always had questions and doubts. I would have moved on to the next relationship, carried the same baggage in. Might have looked a little different, but it'd been the same baggage. And I'd have to have the same conversation with myself. So then, Doug, just be the best version of you for 30 friggin' days. That's such a short time. 30 days, no big deal. And literally, it almost took a week or so for my wife to change. So fast, guys. And the more and more I did it, the more solidified her changes became and mine. And the more conversations opened up where she was saying, hey, I wasn't being the best version of me. I'm sorry. And she started apologizing for the way she was behaving because she started looking at her house first. She started cleaning up her side of the street instead of focusing on mine. I cleaned up my side. Instead of picking on something my wife was doing, I looked at myself first. It's kind of that idea, Tim, of, you know, don't throw stones if you live in a glass house.
Mm-hmm.
Or he who's never committed a sin can throw the first stone, whichever analogy you want. And to me, that's how you tell it's time to leave. If you've been the best version of yourself, the best husband you can be naturally, not some fake BS version, although sometimes you got to fake it to figure out what it is. If you can be the best version of yourself for 30 days consistently, and still that question is there, then it is time to leave, in my opinion. I've talked this to a lot of the men in the movement, and it has opened their eyes and it's changed the way their relationships are. And it's also opened their eyes to some of the guys of, I'm friggin' out of here. This woman's using me. This is not a healthy relationship. It's toxic. I'm being the best version of myself and it's still toxic. I'm out of here. And they leave with grace, with pride, their head held high, and they're able to take that best version of themselves into their next relationships.
Yeah, it's great when if you're gonna leave, you've got to know that you've left it all on the table, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you've got to know that no stone is unturned, and for sure that you are taking care of your side of the street. Last thing you want to do is leave and then think, ah, shit. You know what? I could have done that differently. You know what? I could have done this differently. I'm sure we've all been there with women when we charge into an argument or a conversation, adamant that we are right, adamant you've got your case nailed, and then she says, "Well, actually, did you remember this and this and this and this?" And you go, "Ah, shit, I didn't remember that and that and that. Oh shit, I'm sure it didn't go down like that." But then you're like, "Ah, she's right. There's this and this and this." So yeah, and I think as well within that, the best version of yourself, it's going to evolve as well, right? But like you said, just being it for 7 days,
30.
often, yeah. But like you
Oh,
said, within 7, things started to shift, right?
yep.
And it's amazing how that happens. And like you said, part of being your best is communicating, having boundaries and taking a stand for yourself and not coming in from a place of reaction, like you said, where it's, hey, if you don't do this, then I'm doing that. Because it's a threat, right? It's not gonna help the situation. Whereas communicating it from a place of being a wolf, wise, open, loving, fierce, it's different energy. You can still be firm and also attractive as well in that firmness, right? So yeah, I love the flip that happened during that.
So, gentlemen, if you find yourself in this situation, I'm going to invite you to do a couple things here, right? One, as Tim said, set boundaries and make sure you talk about them. Two, grab a piece of paper or type it up on your computer. What does it look like to be an ideal husband in your terms? And then maybe you can flip the script and say, I wonder what my wife would say. If Doug sat down with my wife and had a cup of coffee, what would she say an ideal husband would look like? Do, act, those kinds of things. What's important to her? Write that down too and see if it works for you, of course. And then mark your calendar. Can you be that man for 30 days? The best version of you for 30 days, consecutive. That's the key. Consecutive days. Talking to a guy the other day, Tim, who was doing a great job at this and then went out, with his wife and some other couples and just got too drunk. Right. And you've seen this post that he put out there, I'm sure. And, self-sabotaged. Well, for him, he's starting at day 0. Right. Got to start again. 30 consecutive days, guys. It's a short period of time. And maybe for some of you guys, it's joining the activation method and doing it during that time period. That's the best version of how you uncarve it. Maybe for some of you, it's something else. But 30 days. Be that guy for 30 days. And I'm going to encourage you to create a thread in our free Facebook group, right? It's a private group on Facebook. You can just search for The Powerful Man, select groups. It's going to be there. It's for business owners only right now, guys. But go ahead and create your thread and say, this is my 30-day thread. And each day within that thread, don't create a bunch of posts. We don't want to see that flooded, but one thread about what your ideal man is. And then each day you can report back on how it's affecting your relationship. And I guarantee it's going to affect a lot of other areas in your life. The 5 territories: self, health, wealth, relationships, and business. Right? Get away from the 5 agonies. Go to the 5 territories for power, guys. That's what I want you to do. 30 days is all I'm asking. It's a short time in life, guys. Time to put it in. And gentlemen, as always, in the moment of insight, I want you to take action. We'll see you next time on The Powerful Man Show.